A brand new $50,000 Chinese SUV just out-dragged a $500,000 Rolls-Royce, and a 10 million subscriber British channel put it on camera for the world to see. Okay, 10.6 seconds. That's the Zeekr 8X's quarter-mile-ish drag time in carwow's test, and it was enough to leave the Cullinan behind. Now, I want to be upfront about something. The Rolls in this test was a 5-year-old used car, not a fresh example. Some people in the comments jumped on that immediately, and honestly, it's a fair caveat. But here's the thing. Even accounting for a bit of age on the Rolls, the performance gap is real. The Zeekr 8X runs a 2.0-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder paired with 3 electric motors. That hybrid system punches way above its displacement, and on a straight road it simply walks away from a V12 that costs 10 times more. I think the reason this video went viral isn't just the result. It's the visual. Watching a car with a Zeekr badge beat a Spirit of Ecstasy off the line is the kind of image that lodges in your brain. Carwow has over 10 million subscribers, and when they frame it that way, the story travels fast. Whether you think the comparison is fair or not, that moment is now out there, and it's not going back in the bottle. Let's talk about the car itself, because I think the acceleration number is almost the least interesting part of this story. The Zeekr 8X comes loaded with features that genuinely made the carwow presenter stop and stare. Rear seat massage, a heads-up display with blind spot camera feeds projected into your line of sight, and this one is my favorite, a zero-turn radius mode that lets the car pivot almost on the spot. That last feature alone had the presenter visibly confused in a good way. I'd argue that the tech gap between a modern Chinese premium EV and a traditional European luxury car is now wider than most Western buyers realize, and it's widening every model cycle. One bystander on camera guessed the Zeekr was worth around £180,000. It's not. It's closer to $50,000, depending on spec. That moment of mistaken identity is more damaging to the European luxury establishment than any drag race result. Now, I'll admit I underestimated how quickly Zeekr would nail interior refinement. A couple of years ago, I said their cabins felt slightly clinical. The 8X has clearly moved on from that, and I was wrong to assume the gap would hold. Here's where I'm going to push back on the viral narrative a little, because I think it needs pushing back on. The Cullinan isn't just a vehicle, it's a social object. When you pull up to a hotel in a Rolls-Royce, a trained concierge reads the badge and responds accordingly. That's not snobbery. That's just how status signaling works, and it's been built over more than a century. The Zeekr badge currently means nothing to 95% of people in London, Paris, or New York. That will change. I genuinely believe it will. But right now it isn't there yet. The ride quality comparison is also more nuanced than the video suggests. The Cullinan's magic carpet suspension tuning is still, to my ears, in a different league for low-frequency isolation. Think of the difference between a new Hyundai and a Mercedes S-Class. On paper the gap looks small, in a parking lot it looks small, but on a long motorway run you feel it in your spine. The Zeekr is closer to the Rolls than any Chinese car has ever been. I'm not saying it wins on refinement. I'm saying the gap is now close enough to be embarrassing for Goodwood. So here's where I land. If you gave me $50,000 and told me to buy one of these two cars, the answer is obvious. The Zeekr 8X isn't even a question. It's a no-brainer on value. But that's not actually the comparison. The real question is whether Chinese brands like Zeekr are now credible enough to eat into the aspirational purchase decisions that drive European luxury sales. And I think the answer is, not yet in the West, but the clock is ticking faster than BMW or Mercedes are admitting publicly. The carwow video has already racked up over 100,000 views on Bilibili reposts alone, and the comment sections in both Chinese and English are fascinating. You've got Western viewers genuinely impressed, and Chinese viewers who are almost surprised that Westerners are surprised. That gap in expectations is itself the story. Zeekr also beat a Ferrari, a BMW X5M, and a Land Rover Defender in a separate carwow drag race earlier in May, which got over 1 million views. This isn't a one-off. I think we're watching the moment Chinese premium EVs stop being a punchline in Western car culture and start being a genuine threat. Whether that threat fully materializes depends on whether Zeekr can build the brand story to match the hardware, and that's a much harder race to win than any drag strip. If you think this comparison was genuinely unfair to the Rolls, Or if you think it was actually too generous, drop your argument in the comments. I read every one. And if you want more deep dives on Chinese EVs that Western media isn't covering properly, subscribe. We do this every week.